Stop and ask for somebody just to have you guys.
We're live.
What's that?
Call the meeting to order, and please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any additions to the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I have no additions to the agenda.
Okay,
Mr. Chair, I move for approval.
okay, moved by Chris,
Second.
moved by Les.
Second by Dave.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda, minutes, auditors warrants, and hospital warrants.
Mr. Chair, I'll move for approval.
Okay, moved by Les,
Second by Dave.
second by Dan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Nick, road and bridge items. Morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
All right, first up for me today, be setting a bid opening date for our third 2021 box culvert contract. We received word that we got some bridge bonding for that. And then just to follow up to that, we also recently received word that we're getting bonding for some bridges on 18 by Edgerton, so that's good news. So I'll probably be back in, I'm not sure when we're gonna set a letting date for that one yet, but that'll be in the fairly near future, so. This one for you today is on our County Road 56 that goes past the golf course south of town. We have 4 of them on there. So yeah, we got bond funds, so we have an overlay scheduled for next year, so we'd like to get these done this year. Give it a freeze thaw cycle over the winter to kind of settle out, so hopefully we, trying to maximize our ride for when we're done with the overlay.
Hey, you've heard the request.
Move for approval.
Okay, moved by Les,
Support.
second by Dallas. Any discussion? Not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, next up, I'd like to set a bid opening date for our 2021 overlays. There's a project on our County Road 3, it's east of 18, one on County Road 7, County Road 9 in Edgerton, County Road 15, and then 2 on County Road 16, one south of Holland, and then one up by the Lincoln County line.
Mr. Chair, I move to set the bid opening date for the overlays on March 9th, 2021 at 10:30.
Okay,
Second.
okay, moved by Chris, second by Les. Any discussion? Not, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, next up then, I have a request to purchase a power washer for $5,279. We actually have $12,000 in the budget for this. Found a cheaper one, it seems to meet all of our needs, so we have no reason not to go with that. But just so you know, there'd be $1,500 to $2,000 extra coming in electrical and plumbing bills for getting it all plumbed in, hooked up. So this is just the machine for now, but still looks like it'll be well under budget. And then, yes, it was a budget item for 2021, so.
Mr. Chair, move for approval.
Okay, moved by Chris,
Second.
second by Les. Any discussion?
Approval of which one?
Of the
Master?
power washer, the Master Blaster?
Yep, low bid.
Is that what you're recommending?
Yep, a little bit, yeah. Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Bet. Okay, all those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Then the last request for board action I have would be to purchase 2 new shop doors for $10,184 from Tri-State Garage Door. I put at the bottom that a deposit may be required. It doesn't sound like it is required. They didn't specify either way, but it sounded to me like they didn't need a deposit. Their quote they gave was good for 30 or 60 days or something, but we can commit to it now, and, you know, they probably won't install them till it's nicer out, but if we get some decent weather, maybe they'll do it now, but, yeah, we actually had 21,000 budgeted for that, so it's well under that, so that's good.
Good.
Mr. Chair, I move for approval of the low bid from Tri-State Garage Door, Inc., and to have the paid as an auditor warrant.
Okay.
Dan will second.
Okay, Dallas has already seconded, but thank you. Any discussion?
I do have a I do have one question, though. Have you checked with Wayne? He's bought some doors for our Sally Port. Is this the same company, and how does that compare?
I have not checked with Wayne, so it could be the same company, but it might not. I know in the past, we've just done it ourselves.
Steve, do you recall the name of the company that bought those other doors from?
Dallas, it's the guys from Edgerton. Remember the name of the company?
Oh, the guys that install it?
Yeah, they buy doors and put in doors. I can't remember their name.
Yeah, now you got me on the spot. It's, one works for the city and one sells seed corn. They do it on Saturdays and on spare time.
I know they've done work up here. Let me see if Wayne's in.
They do a nice job, I know that, so.
Steve's gonna find out, Dan.
Brands is one of them. I don't know his front name. And Denny Schmidt is the other one. Brands and Schmidt,
Midwest Overhead Door out of Edgerton.
they do have an official name, huh?
Yep.
Midwest Overhead Door from Edgerton.
Nick, what would you think of taking the time to get a second bid from them once, just so we have something to compare to?
We have 2 bids now.
Two.
Okay, I would defer to whatever you want. There's fine.
How soon are you looking to have this done, Nick?
Well, I wanted approval for this today to lock in that lower price, because, you know, it's only good for 30 days or whatever, and then they wouldn't guarantee that it wouldn't go up. So,
Right, and they're pretty good size.
yeah, they're big.
Commercial.
Yeah, so I guess it's up to you guys. We can delay this if you want, and I can get that other quote. Maybe they'll honor their price, maybe it'll go up, I don't know. I guess it's public now, so they might know it.
Right. Yeah. We do have a motion and a second, I guess, probably vote and see how it works out.
Question, how many more doors do we have to do out there?
This should do it.
Oh, this is last 2?
Yeah, we've been kind of chipping away at them,
Okay.
so, instead of doing like a big package deal of all of them, you know, like these are the only 2 really poor ones we had left, so.
'Cause how large are these? Pretty tall, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah, we can get our excavator inside on a trailer. So, you know, that fits under it. The plow trucks fit in there. They're big.
They're probably 16-foot doors.
Yeah, I honestly don't know, but they're big doors. These aren't your regular,
Typical garage doors.
no,
Yeah.
no. They're pretty much full height, I believe, of the building, so.
My son had been pricing doors for a new machine shed, and these is very reasonable for the 10,000.
Oh, okay.
His quotes are way bigger than that, so,
Oh, okay.
different places. But,
And that's for 2, so.
yeah, this is for 2, yeah.
Does that include openers?
Yeah, I think I would support that, Nick. I don't want to slow things up. I was just putting that out there for discussion, but if you feel more comfortable continuing with what you're doing, I'll support you on that as well.
Okay. I don't think openers are in there. If I remember right, we had we have newer openers on them, so,
Are they insulated?
yeah, well,
Most
I
of them
guess I
are
didn't
nowadays.
confirm, but,
Most of them are nowadays.
yeah, I think they'd almost have to be, so.
Okay. Okay, we do have a motion, so in a second, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, my last item would be the LRIP funds for townships and small cities. I don't know if you guys have got any notification on that through some of your other mailings, but what it boils down to is it's some grant funds that townships and small cities are, they can apply for through the state. There's a number of people that felt it was not entirely accurately represented. It's kind of like, oh, here it is, just apply and it's yours. But there's, there's going to be a lot of competition and a lot more. They didn't talk necessarily in depth about the downside to it. These grants don't cover everything. You have to flip a lot of money yourselves to get this stuff. So I expect to see some applications. The city of Edgerton has contacted me. They're looking at doing one. But we're gonna, as a county, we're gonna have to decide if we're willing to sponsor a project, which would mean, we'd have to kind of administer the paperwork, and then there's an application, are we gonna fill out that? Are we gonna require them to do that themselves? Are we gonna supply engineering for this? We don't have to do any of that, but I'll send out some more information, but just so you know, we're gonna have to decide on that, how much we're gonna participate, I guess, so.
What are the typical match requirements?
It probably just depends on the type of project, because there's certain things not covered, so I don't think engineering's covered, so if there's a lot of engineering, it'd be higher. But the city or township, whatever, is gonna have to put a lot of money up themselves, and I don't know how many would be interested in doing that,
I'm guessing this would just be for like the roadway itself, not like for curb and gutter or other
I don't,
accessory things, or?
I think it'd kind of depend on the segment where it's at, if it was in the right area, that might qualify. I wouldn't necessarily be surprised if it did.
Okay.
So, that's just kind of a preliminary. I'll try to send out some more information on it, but, some other counties are starting to get asked on this, so I kind of want to know what to tell people. When the engineer for the city of Edgerton contacted me yesterday, he asked if the county was willing to sponsor a project. I told him I thought so, but I wasn't sure. We could possibly answer that today. To me, it'd be the same type of agreement as what we did with the city of Pipestone on the trail project. It's essentially they're paying for everything, but we're just a pass-through to do the paperwork.
So they'd reimburse the county for whatever?
Yeah, we'd have to, we'd set up an agreement like we have with the city of Pipestone, so is it safe to say that the county would be willing to do that for now?
I think so.
Don't see why not.
Okay. To me, the agreement would look the same as the one we did for the city of Pipestone, so.
Do you know how much is in this pool of money that?
I've heard, but I don't think all of it's gonna go to how they made it sound, like the town. I think that's a portion of it, which is part of, I've been hearing conflicting stories, so I don't know. I don't really want to have an opinion on it, I guess, yet, just because I'm not sure I know enough to really have a strong opinion, so.
Sure.
But I mean, one person I had heard thought that there maybe be a dozen projects in the state. Well, if you look at 87 counties, like, what are your odds?
Who's gonna rise to the top of that
Exactly.
list?
So,
Yeah.
but, that might have been worst case scenario too, because there's a cap on the grant, so, yeah, more to learn, I guess, on that yet, but, so I'll be back later with some more information. I'll request guidance as far as what to tell people, like, this is what the county's willing to do on the topic, so.
Sure.
How often does this grant come around? Every year, every 2 years?
It's every year.
Is it
It's
annual?
being advertised differently this year, so I don't, from what I understand, the townships went to the legislature and complained about, hey, we need money to do projects, et cetera. And I think they just said, well, we'll apply for this, so. So, I guess that's all I had today, unless anybody has any questions for me. No? All right, sounds good.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick.
Yep.
Kyle? Morning.
Morning.
And I see we have Brian Harper from representing DG Minnesota CS2 LLC, and Cal Brower, our Chair of the Planning Commission online. This morning I've got a recommendation from the Planning Commission pertaining the Green Arrow Solar Project being proposed in Sweet Township, Section 14. The Planning Commission had a meeting last Monday night, public hearing to take input on the proposed project, and I provided you with a copy of the findings of fact from the Planning Commission. Just kind of to summarize that, the project is being proposed by DG Minnesota CS2 LLC, and it's on the Merrill property that's just west of Coburn's on the south side of the road. It's a 1 megawatt solar project being proposed, covering about 10 acres. The land is currently zoned as urban expansion. I did talk to the city. They are not anticipating any city expansion in that direction at this time. Everything is kind of south of Coburn's. The site will have an 8-foot high chain link fence around the project area. Currently, there's a lease for 25 years with 2 5-year consecutive extensions, and the panels will be the tracking ones that will be moved. They'll move with the sun. And we discussed during the hearing about a vegetative screening plan and about possibly rearranging the site a little bit. Initially, it was a square, and the request was to make it more rectangular to minimize neighbor impacts to the north, as far as the view shed to the south. So the recommendations from the Planning Commission were to approve with the conditions that a vegetative screening plan be developed and installed, that the project be redesigned to be narrow and longer to the north and south, and that they comply with all other state, federal, and local permitting requirements. And I did receive a redesign of the project from Brian Harper. I'm not sure if it's in everyone's best interest what's being proposed at this time, but it's kind of a rectangle, or a kind of an oblong shape. I think it would make it more difficult to farm the land, so I think we may want to continue to work on the redesign a little bit. But they are willing to work with us on that, so.
Is there any plan in place for the removal of the panels when the project,
They submit a
life
decommissioning
expectancy.
plan that basically says that they'll remove everything.
okay.
It's kind of like the wind. The easement actually covers it probably in more detail than what our Planning Commission plan does. And it's assumed that most of the costs will be covered. The metal and things like that will have salvage value that'll offset the cost of the decommissioning. And Brian, if you want to jump in at any time, you're welcome to.
Yeah, we'll put a decommissioning bond in place to remove everything from the owner's property and return it to the state it was before we were there. So that's covered in the decommissioning bond required in the permit, and then also in the lease agreement with the landowner, as you referenced, Kyle.
Okay, great.
One thing that I'm still not totally clear on, and I think this is more of a solid waste issue, is, and they're planning to recycle the panels as much as they can. If they do, get rid of them, some people say that they're hazardous waste and they need to dispose of properly. So those are some things that'll be addressed, I think, as we move forward. Some counties are requiring assurance. We've never required assurance on wind or solar to date, so
Okay,
Any other questions?
Kyle, do you know where the interconnect is going to be at, how they're going to facilitate tying that into utilities?
That'll be done right there also. There'll be 3 poles to the north end of the project that'll interconnect with that power line right there south of Highway 30. Directly across from Paulson Field.
Okay. And how many total acres are going to be committed?
It's gonna be approximately 10. I don't, that's gonna kind of be dictated by the redesign a little bit. But it's, you know, a basic 1 megawatt solar project takes up about 7 acres. And then if you add a little bit more for the interconnect and the fence. And the current proposed screening plan I think will typically include some evergreens, possibly to the north of the project, that'll be outside of the fence. Is that correct, Brian?
Yes, that's correct.
And what specifically are you looking for action today on this, or this is for information today? Where are we at with the process?
This is a recommendation from the Planning Commission, and I'm requesting that the board take action today with the 3 conditions that are recommended by the Planning Commission.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I will make that move that we do commit to the development of this solar project.
Okay, moved by Dan,
Second.
second by Chris. Any further discussion or questions?
Just have a couple comments. We had people on Zoom at the meeting, and there's, like I say, there are people for it and against it. And I went and, do you have any more data, Brian, on the size, if you're rectangular? How much northern exposure is it gonna have?
Did you get my email this morning?
Um,
Did you get my email this morning?
Our plans now effectively cut it in half. The access road that we initially submitted was coming down to the center of the project, and so we just took that and then dropped the panels down to underneath that to make the previous frontage we've had effectively kind of. I don't have hard numbers of how many feet that would be. The vegetative buffer we have is 315 linear feet, and that covers the majority of the northern portion.
Okay. We talked about a vegetative cover. Do we need to specify in our motion that it's on the north side only? It's needed?
I intentionally left that out, thinking that if Brian felt that the plan should include something to the west and east that could be potentially included. I did talk with Brian about that. He said typically any shrubbery or something on the east and west sides will not really be a visual screen anyway because of the fence being there. So I kind of left it open to allow whatever they felt would be adequate. Okay. Kind of like the redesign, I didn't want to specify that it has to be a certain dimension or width, length, because I think some of that should be dictated by the owners
and the
after
renter.
they redesign it, and the renter, so that everyone's in agreement. So it's better to recommend it without having anything too hard and fast, being specific about it.
Our job is to allow it to be built. It's their job to make out the details between them, right?
Yep. But we did acknowledge the concern from the neighbors, that narrow and long would be better from a visual perspective, we thought. And that we wanted to ensure that the renter of the land had easily farmable land afterwards also.
Printed something out for you.
I have no problem with the motion. I just wanted to clarify a few things.
And I did receive a redesign from Brian last night. I just sent it to Steve this morning. He's printing off a copy if you'd like to see that. So it's kind of like I said, the first draft, it's not a square, it's not a rectangle, so there's some jags in there, so I think it might be difficult to farm that. But it's a move in the right direction as far as what was requested at the meeting.
Okay.
Steve went to get a printout of some details on the layout, and we can have him email you, Dan.
And just for your information, any solar project larger than 100 kilowatts is triggered the conditional use permit requirements. So the smaller ones currently don't require a conditional use permit. They're just a normal building permit. I did have a discussion with one solar developer who's pursuing development of solar on, like two hog barn sites where there's two barns. He was talking somewhere in that 140 kilowatts possibility, so I did inform him that that would also require conditional use permit on those, but not sure how many we will be getting like that, but solar is still actively being pursued.
What was the threshold again?
100 kilowatts. And the ordinance was really written to that effect based on the amount of land being consumed with the project. So you'd have about 1/10 of an acre, thereabouts.
Okay.
Does the developer have some projected dates on this, Kyle, when he wants to get started and so forth, or is this going to be a drawn-out project?
That'd be a question for Brian. We didn't talk in detail on that at the hearing, but go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, we're waiting on feedback from Excel. We had submitted for interconnection to their grid, and we should be hearing back in the next couple of months on when they will be able to interconnect. So it's kind of all predicate on them giving us feedback on when they can actually make the system upgrades and interconnect us. It looks like it'll be able to get done in the next 6 to 12 months, I would say. But we don't have firm dates yet on. I guess the initial response is we want to interconnect as soon as possible, but it's kind of just waiting on the utility to get everything done on their side.
That's the one you want. There's two of them in there.
So you don't have a power purchase agreement at this point?
Do it for you.
It just shows the reading. Yep.
Okay.
We don't need a power purchase agreement for these community solar projects. It's just the interconnection guidance and then getting the community solar garden customers signed up. So no, to answer, we don't have a PPA at this time.
Okay.
And Dan?
And Steve did just make a copy and hand it out to the board as far as the redesign proposal.
Dan, I'm emailing it to you right now,
Okay, thank you.
and also to the Kyle Kufal and Jill at the Enterprise. Okay.
The new plan does reduce the northern exposure to it, so that should help with some of the concerns that were expressed at the meeting. How about the turnout lane there with the highway department? Let them worry about that?
That's still going to have to dealt with DOT. So whatever proposal is submitted, that's something that they will have to, DOT will have to agree to, so.
We don't have any,
We don't really have a say there, no. It's going to be, we've informed the applicants that they have to get a permit from DOT to have an access from there, so that's going to be a permit through DOT.
Okay.
Using the business. Just want to look at it.
Dan, did you receive what you needed?
Yes, I did. Yep, I'm looking at it now.
Okay, good.
Yep. And I guess, the only comment I've got on the design and so forth, again, as long as it meets our zoning requirements and so forth, I don't know if we really have the authority to get into the weeds that much as far as how they specifically design this. It's from a curiosity standpoint, yes, it's nice to know what they're going to do, but I don't believe we've got the authority to dictate to them how they do it. As long as it meets our zoning requirement and so forth, our solar plant.
Right, I would agree. Okay, we do have a motion and a second. Any further discussion or questions?
I'll call the question.
Okay, if not, all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thanks, Kyle.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, Cal, for leading the meeting the other night. You did a good job.
Not a problem. Thank you, Dallas.
Good luck with your project, Brian.
Thank you very much.
Hey, Rich? Are you Rich?
Yep.
Okay, come on up. Welcome.
Good morning, Rich. How you doing?
Great.
Good.
Thanks for giving me some time here, guys.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. All right. So I think everybody has that presentation that was sent.
I think so.
And did you guys have anybody get on the Google Drive and look at some of the supporting documentation? It's also there available if you had any questions. Okay. Let's see here. Sorry. Does anybody want a copy of this presentation, or everybody has one? Okay, I brought extra. just
They're
in
black and white. They're not pretty in color. Got
If
color.
anybody wants a color one, I'm happy to hand them out.
Oh, sure, we'll take a look at it.
As long as you went to work.
Yeah, that's right.
I already killed the trees.
That's right. Thanks.
Thank you.
You didn't just kill a tree, you gave an opportunity to a tree farmer. I have that discussion with my sister-in-law.
All right, so my name's Rich Ragatz from Ideal Energies. I'm a partner. Our firm started back in 2010, and our focus just is on-site solar, either ground or roof-mounted solar. And to date, we've done 425 projects in Minnesota. That's the only state we work in. Our company's vertically integrated, where we do everything in-house, soup to nuts. We have a structural engineer on staff, master electricians, installation crews, everything needed to kind of get this thing done. We have an operations and maintenance team. As part of this, we have to take care of the solar array during the payback, and so we have a team that'll be on looking at the monitoring software and making sure that the system's working. So just a little background on us. So that's really the second page of this is about Ideal Energies. That third page here, this is just a list showing some, about half of our customers are for-profit customers, and the other half are public entities, counties, cities, schools, et cetera. And this is a list of some of the for-profits that we've done around the state. This next page is kind of highlighting the cities and counties that we've done to date. We're the first firm in the state to do anything with Ramsey County. In fact, a couple years ago when we did business with Ramsey County, they had their white-collar crime person come out and interview us because they were curious how we could present what we're presenting. And after he dug into it and looked at all the stuff, he said, okay, you guys have a real program here, and I'm okay with it. So we've now done over what's that?
It's not a scam.
It's not a scam.
I'm sure that's
It's
what
not
he's
too
looking
good
at.
to be true.
Yeah, that's right.
This picture here is a picture of the wastewater treatment facility in St. Cloud. I think they are a zero carbon, the carbon neutral now. They have quite a program going on up there.
How big is that?
This one, all in, is like 600 kilowatts.
600? Okay.
Yep. And they have some other solar that's already on there. They have some heating sources and a lot of biodegradable stuff that they're working on. So they're pretty forward-looking county up there, and city. So on to the another list of some of the customers that we've done business with here. This next page is kind of just the how-to on the solar. So what we're talking about here, the previous gentleman was talking about a solar garden, where you're just putting it on the grid and you're going to get a credit for the energy produced, and a subscriber gets a little benefit of that, like you guys know with what you have done. What we're talking about is we're looking at installing this on the building out there off of Hiawatha and doing it behind the meter, so all the energy is going to be basically used on site instead of go to the grid and then you use it. So you're going to get the direct benefit on site with all the things that happen. And so it kind of goes through all of the different things here. So on to the details of what we're talking about here, the proposed project. We're looking at the Public Health Service building, and we're talking about a 59.404 kilowatt DC solar array. And so this is just an idea of where it could be located. We could move it around if you wanted to put it in a different spot. But that, just to give you a ballpark of what you're looking at, this kind of size array is going to take up about 15,000 square feet of ground when we do it. Okay, so then on to the next page of energy consumption, before and after. So the current consumption out there is 111,600 kilowatt hours. This solar array is going to look at producing 72,324 kilowatt hours, or offset about 65% of your consumption there.
And this is annual, correct?
Annual,
This is
yep.
the annual, what you're looking at here, okay.
Yep. Okay, and so then kind of some highlights of what we do. We do this through what's called a capital lease program. So the capital lease, we separate out, you guys would be the fee title owner of the system day one, and sister company of ours, Green Sky Leasing, would be the tax owner. So we're able to peel off the tax ownership. For doing this solar project this year, there's a 26% federal tax credit, and you as a county not paying taxes, we're able to leverage, kind of split it up so that we can use that 26% to help pay for the system, so that you guys don't have to put any money down, and you're basically just buying energy at a discount during the payback, and we take care of the maintenance and things during that payback, so that you guys get most of the benefits. So you own the array day one. There's no upfront cost for you. We're gonna do a PPA for a 16-year period. So after the 16 years, the system's paid off in full, and you get the full benefit of that energy moving forward. And there's a 25-year warranty with the panels. I don't know if you guys have any questions so far, or?
Is there a plan for the cost to take it down at the end of the life expectancy?
Well, the manufacturer has a production-based warranty that after 25 years, they, if it's not producing at least 80% of what they told you day one, then you have a warranty claim. So you're still going to be at least 80% of the output that was projected year one. So you're still going to have significant, benefit for having a solar array, especially a ground-mounted array sitting there. So we're projecting at least 40 years on the panels. There's no moving parts with the system. They're made out of heavy-duty aluminum backing, tempered glass, engineered for 52-mile-an-hour winds and like 1.25 inches of hail. Very few panels have been damaged by events. Across, we have 20,000 panels across, 400 plus installations, and to date, before that, there's a storm that happened last fall in the metro area. We had only had 3 panels damaged. In that last storm, we had, I think, 6 different systems, but it was just a warranty event.
And we do have wind over 52 almost every year here.
I'm sure, yeah. There's going to be some different weather things, but the good news is most of the events aren't going to come from the south to the north and kind of do direct strikes on the panels. They're typically from the side, and if they're directly south-facing, you're probably not going to have a big, insurance event.
But who does pay for the removal then at the end of the life expectancy, whenever that may be?
Well, you guys would be on the hook for that. But, if you were to say, okay, after whatever 40 years that we're done with the system, we want to move on, it's considered electronic waste, and it would cost 50 cents a pound to bring that to a dump site. But the more likely scenario is you'd probably have somebody just take them off your hands, because there's still going to be some production, decent production in the panels. And so there's actually currently, there's now a salvage market that's kind of coming into fruition. So I think that'll be a part of it, where you might even be able to sell them at a discount if you wanted to do that.
There is a market for used solar panels?
Yeah,
There is.
just starting, yep.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
in regards to that damage and so forth, so we own the entire wind farm, or excuse me, solar panels from day one. So it's our responsibility then to carry insurance on that for damage, storm damage.
Our responsibility to carry insurance on storm damage, is
Yeah.
what he's saying.
Yeah, so you guys are the fee title owner the day one, so you're gonna have to get a rider on your insurance policy for acts of God and other things like that, and this would be one of those events.
But you
So
said,
has the cost of that insurance been factored into your payback on this?
Yes, it is.
you said your company does the maintenance, though?
Yep.
Okay.
Just a question, isn't the life expectancy on most panels only about 25 years? Then you've got this one projected out to 40?
No, it's 25 years is the warranty on the panels, and there's the last up to 40 years. Like the ones that are on the White House, put on in the 70s, are still producing energy. There's all these studies with the larger solar installations around the country, and they're just showing that the degradation, I can get into the weeds on the number details, but we have a 0.5% degradation factor that we use each year, so the production goes down each of the years. And that's based on industry standard stuff, but talking with manufacturers and seeing the stuff that we have, the 400-plus installations, the degradation isn't happening as fast as what, they're projecting in their warranties.
So that's why you're going out 40 years, because you figure at the 0.5, you'd still have 80% after the 40 years?
Yep.
Mr. Chairman and board members, I do have a call in to MCIT to find out what the cost for insurance would be to the county. I don't have an answer on that yet.
Thank you.
But we know that they'll cover them.
Oh, yeah, it's county property, so, yeah. I just have to find out if it's actual, another policy, or not another policy, just an add-on to our physical building or equipment, or if it's under something else, so I have a call into Don Daraskovich, so I'll get that, so.
Steve, I think it'd be good to clarify with them exactly what they will and will not cover for damage out there as well, too, with MCIT.
Yes,
Make
sir.
sure there's no surprises.
Yep. Yes, Dan, I'll take care of that. Make sure it's covered for equipment, failure, damage,
Weather
Yep.
events.
weather.
Whether it be, or even vandalism, fire, storm damage, all those things we need to look at.
Wind, hail.
Basically all peril.
Another question is just clarification on the maintenance. Reading through your packet, I wasn't quite sure as far as who's responsible for service calls, maintenance, if we have a panel burn up, if we have a panel fail. Is that going to be covered under a warranty, and for how long, and who pays for the labor to replace the panel?
Yeah, so that would be a warranty event, and I think in our contract, for warranty event, we just have the bare bones labor cost to replace it. We're just trying to cover our cost in that, not make any money off of that portion of it. And there's very few panels. I think the panels have like a 0.001% failure factor of all the panels we've got. And that's one thing that you really don't see failure with in terms of the equipment. You're more likely to have an inverter or a power optimizer. These panels have, so the inverter takes the DC created energy and converts it to AC. And what we found is in startup, especially, that oftentimes the electronics has to be tweaked a little bit to kind of get it working. And once it's working and running, then it's fine. But that's why we're there to help and make sure it's a smooth process. And just to let you know, with this program, so you guys aren't paying any money for this. There's also, you guys are assigning a production-based 10-year warranty to us. So we're basically tied at the hip. If it's not producing what we're telling you that it's producing, then we're not going to get our full purchase price. So not only are we around for 16 years, but 10 of those years we're very much motivated to make sure it works well so that we can get our full grants from Xcel Energy. And that's based on the production of the system.
Rich, if I read through this right, if I can ask Mr. Chairman, is there monitoring equipment, you guys are monitoring the system to make sure it's working properly, and if there's any failures, or anything not working, you'll note that and come out and repair whatever needs to be done?
Yep. In fact, I don't know if
Some sort of equipment in the building out there that monitors the system and that's tied into them. Is it phone or?
Yeah, so the one thing that we asked of you guys is to have a Cat 5 cable out in the electrical rooms that we can plug it into the monitoring piece of equipment.
There's lots of those in there.
Yeah, I'm sure, I'm sure there are. But it's something that, like on my phone here, the inverters are Solar Edge. That's the most popular inverter in the world. And this is something that our guys will get on there, and we have most of our installations on here, and I can just pull up, I'm just pulling up just a random one. Pipestone has a facility that we did, and it'll show the production of the system daily, weekly, monthly. You know, here's like almost a bell curve, so a pretty good day yesterday for solar. And the area underneath there is the kilowatt hours produced, and there's some other things that they get on and show you. So this installation was a previous program that only had a 20 kilowatt maximum, but this will show you all the panels on the system, so somebody will hop on here, and if there's anything highlighted in red or yellow, they'll know there's an issue and they can address the issue, and a change order ticket will come out saying, hey, you got to address the inverter or these panels, and we'll get out and get it done.
Your crew is coming out of the metro area then, as far as if there is a failure?
Yeah,
Local maintenance.
we'll have somebody that'll be out here fixing it.
Where do they come from? Where is it? Is it based out of Minneapolis? Is your repair?
We're based out of Minneapolis, but we might have somebody that is closer.
Okay.
That'll be part of the team.
I have one question. Go ahead, Dan.
Just on that same vein, so then do we have the assurances that the won't sit down for weeks on end while you send somebody down here?
I'm sorry?
Dan, you were
If there's
cutting
a
out.
failure, okay, pardon me. If there is a failure, is there any assurances from you that you'll address them in a timely manner, that it won't sit here for weeks on end before you get a crew here to look at it?
Well, yeah, just back to that other statement that I mentioned, that there's a production-based incentive from Xcel Energy for this program. It's called Solar Rewards. So over a 10-year period, we get reimbursed, I think it's 5 cents for every kilowatt hour produced during that 10-year period. So, yeah, we're not going to be sitting around with equipment that's not working, because that's not only hurting you guys, but it's also hurting us.
You need optimal production for it to cash out for you.
Right.
I have one question, why the system is not going to be connected to the grid. Is that a whole different set of controls and so?
Yeah.
Gets more expensive to do that?
Well, it's just how the program operates, that it's a behind-the-meter type of deal. So we'll go through this process of interconnection, and if Xcel grants us interconnection, what they do is come out and they put in a bidirectional meter in the building, so that even though you guys will probably use it all on site, that inverter takes the DC created and converts it to AC, so it can either be used on site or it goes back to the grid. And with that bidirectional meter, if you're not using it on a weekend, for instance, it'll spin backwards and you get credit for that.
Being it's solar, the output is during the day, and this building uses most of its energy during the day too. I can see where that would be helpful, rather than a home where you need a lot of things at night.
But with the bidirectional meter, you're not wasting any. If you're not using it, it's going on to the grid.
Yeah, and the other good thing about this, they net it out every month, so as long as you're consuming more than you're using in any given month, and based on a bill history report that I got for that location, I think that'll be the case.
Right.
Because what you don't want to do is you don't want to sell it back to Excel because they buy it at a, wholesale rate and they're charging a retail rate, so it doesn't work out so well for you. So we're aware of that and want to make sure that it's a successful project for you guys, and you're a good reference for us to get some other counties.
It also was a public relations matter that, okay, we're gonna have a solar garden, but we're gonna use that electricity here.
Mm-hmm.
That way our constituents can see the benefit directly,
Yeah, and you can do some other things that you can't do with solar gardens in terms of if you want to shout about it. You can't say that, you're powered by solar energy. You can say that this location will be powered by solar energy, but there's some weird rules that they don't allow you to do certain things with the solar garden aspect.
We'll let Steve worry about the rules.
Yes.
Rich, we do have a standby generator out there,
Okay.
too. So something to be aware of, that if we do lose power, that will automatically kick on, and that
Okay.
has happened before. So I don't know if that interferes or creates any issues with this type of system or not, but.
No,
Okay,
no issues.
okay.
Probably be helpful if it happens at night, though.
Exactly.
Right on. So I can keep answering questions or continue to go further along in the
Go ahead.
Okay, all right. So then, onto this next page, we're looking at the project cash flow. So for this, this project, we're looking at utility bill savings generated year one of $6,774. This $50 rent, we're gonna do this, there's certain criteria that we need to meet in order to have this be a valid capital lease scenario with the IRS. So we're paying for the right to maintain the system, and that's a way that kind of firms up the splitting off of the fee title and tax ownership piece. So then you have total revenue of $6,824. You're going to pay us 80% of that first number, or $5,419. And the insurance rider, we're talking about $180 as an annual fee for that. Hopefully, it's not more than that. If they try and do that, I'd love to talk to them, and talk some sense into them. We've had some other groups that have tried to gouge customers, and we've set them right, so. So then you're at $5,599 for expenses. So this project would give you a $1,225 savings year one. Over the, you can see over the 16 years, you're gonna be ahead of the game by about $25,000. And then after it's paid off, after that, you can see that you start to get some much better savings, 11 grand a year. And over the life, you're looking at about 450,000 of electrical savings. And then on to the last page here. Next steps, what we'd love to do is apply for a solar rewards grant through Xcel Energy for this project, and then work through a contract with the county attorney, and hopefully get this built sometime this summer if we can make that happen.
So we're not actually approving any final agreement today. We're just basically giving you permission to
To negotiate through a,
try to get the grant and move forward.
okay, great.
Mr. Chairman, before any action was taken in a future meeting, I'd want to send the contract off to County Attorney Domain Sandy and have him review that as well.
Oh, definitely.
Then we can come back and he gives that its blessing, then you can make a decision on going forward with it.
Right. So do we need to take any action today, or basically
Is
just,
there anything you need
By
today
consensus.
from us?
Just maybe we're allowed to apply for the solar rewards grant and start to negotiate the contract, right?
Should probably have action on that then.
I would see no problem with that.
I'd make that motion to move ahead.
Les made a motion to move ahead with allowing them to pursue that grant through Excel.
support that.
Dallas seconded the motion. Any other comments? Dan, do you have anything further?
Not on the motion to move ahead. I do have a couple other comments on the project itself as a whole, but we can go ahead and act on the motion first if you'd like. That's fine.
Just part of discussion, though, I just did have a question on, do we have any other future plans for that parcel for like expansion? I know there was talk about that building could be built off, you know, and things like that, and where this proposed station is, would be where that additional building would go, so I
When
just,
we met the first time here, 3 weeks ago or so, then we talked about having one row along the property line instead of
south
two.
end or something. Okay, thank you.
We can move it around to,
Those are my questions as well, too. And again, the answer was we're going to go on the very south border of the property is what we had understood from our previous discussion. Is that correct?
Chris? Right along, just to the south of the power pad.
Okay.
Along the property line there.
And then
We're looking at, so there's plenty of room out here if we need to add this way.
as long as
don't wanna mess that up.
the lines are run in a fashion that they're not gonna interfere with the building.
What's that little square that's next to the building?
That was the mound sewer system that
Oh,
had to
okay.
be put in when they built
That's
the
obsolete,
property.
correct,
Yes,
at this
that's been
point?
vacated.
Okay, so even if we did expand, we'd have to dig all that out anyway, yep,
Okay.
okay. Okay, well, Mr. Chair, I'll call the question.
Okay,
Then I guess my other questions, if you want to discuss them before we vote on that, again, the projected savings that you showed us, you know, that's all fine. I believe you said 400,000 or something like that, was the figure. But just to put that in context, that's again over a 40-year lifespan. But really, the margins on this are pretty narrow as far as us getting any financial benefit from it.
certainly in the first 16 years, it's narrower than it would be after that.
Yeah. So I just want to go into with our eyes open, realizing it's not going to be a big money maker for us. It's perfect to support renewable energies. I like that. I like being self-sustaining with our power usage there, but don't think that this is going to be a money maker for us.
Certainly not in the short term.
yeah, the good news about, so you have panels and say after 40 years, you want to replace the panels, there's some better panels that are out there. The racking and what we have there should last a long time, and you might be able to just replace the panels and have a new operating system. So that's another thing you could look at.
I think you're being a little over optimistic there. After 40 years, the junction boxes, the wiring, the underground cable coming to the building, the inverters, there's not going to be much value left after 40 years.
Okay, fair enough.
Dan's an electrician.
I remember Dan.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
You can start doing your work.
Thank you, good
Thanks,
luck.
Rich.
You
Thank you, everybody, appreciate it.
bet.
Just to let the board know too on this, I talked with Jeff Jones at the city yesterday, and the city is in the legal review of the contract portion of this as well, that they're having their city attorney look it over. I think that's where you're at, isn't it?
Yep, and I think next Monday or Tuesday, we're on for approval there.
There you go.
That was for a much bigger project, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's 360 kilowatts. Out at that treatment facility out on Hiawatha. That'll be
Just to the
nice.
north of us there.
Yeah.
Good.
All right, good luck, thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
Thank you, Rich. Thanks for driving down today.
You bet, anytime.
Thank you.
Want a little break before we move ahead?
Let's do that.
Okay. We'll recess for a few minutes, Dan.
We're gonna recess for a few minutes, Dan.
Okay, we can reconvene, and we'll start with Steve and Tyler telling us about the COVID-19 Business Relief Assistance Grant Program.
Great.
Morning.
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 How's everybody doing today?
Good.
Good.
You?
So I guess, Steve, you just want me to start off? Or you want to?
I'll give a start here
Okay,
on the
perfect.
background, what we're doing here.
Okay.
So what we're looking for, you have a request for board action. What's happening here is the state of Minnesota, after one of the last governor's orders, and back in November for 20-99, the legislature got together and came up with a large amount of money to assist businesses. So what Pipestone's part of this, and because of the size of our county is we're less than 10,000 people, we're getting the minimum. There's 25 other counties getting the same amount. So we're getting $256,250. This is based off Senate File 31 for small business and nonprofit, business grants. Right. So we talked at this at a previous board meeting, and I recommended that we just use the CARES Act Grant Committee to basically come back together and work on this. So that was Les and Dan and Tyler and I on that. So we'll still use that same plan. So what I've got before you today is a draft of the application form. And I put this together several times. This is like reinvention number 6 of it. I've gone through it so many times. When I got it done to where I thought it was ready to go, I did fire it off to Matt Hilgert from AMC. He has been running lead on this project with the legislators and all the counties and all the administrators and auditor treasurers trying to come up with the right wording for the grants. So I'm pretty sure we're where we should be on what we're doing. So it's a little bit of a different take on this one, where last time we had the federal money and we had hundreds and hundreds of thousands. This time we have a finite amount. We have $256,250, and of that we could take about 2.5% for our use if we needed it, which would then leave, that'd be like $62.50 we could use for admin. We decided to just put it all in there, as we figured the need is probably greater than what we would use anyway. So the target group of this is what the legislators wanted to be done with this, is small businesses and nonprofit businesses is where the focus was on this. So this wasn't like everybody, other large businesses, really trying to focus on them. Some counties even put in their application to less than 50 FTEs for employee size. So the focus is definitely on small business here. And for the most part, we have that in Pipestone County as the greatest part of our business climate and community. So if you look on the first page, the exclusions we have are not very detailed. It's corporate chains, multi-state chains, any of those large stores, restaurants, that type of thing. Any farms filing an IRS form Schedule F in Pipestone County. So this isn't an ag program at all. This is to target those small businesses that really took the hit back in November when everything was shut down. And then going back to March as well, throughout the summer where they were in limited capacities. And then finally when COVID hit again, right after Thanksgiving, they shut everything down. So also businesses who primarily derive income from passive investments, rentals, and property management. So people that own apartment buildings, apartment houses, that type of thing would not be eligible for this. And just to catch all businesses who primarily derive income from gambling and adult entertainment. Gig workers, we did take care of gig workers in the last round of grants. Those are the ones that basically pay rent to do their job. Primarily we came up with hairstylists was a real common one that did that. And we funded those gig workers on the other grant period as well. So again, they must be in business by March 1st of 20, have been adversely affected monetarily by the executive orders issued by the state of Minnesota during the declaration of emergency from the COVID-19 virus event. The business itself must be located within the corporate limits of Pipestone County, Minnesota, regardless of the location of the owners. And the business must have no current tax liens on record with the Secretary of State's office and must hold all current and applicable licenses. Matt Hilgert did specifically, and to hold other counties the same thing, do not, and the intent of this was if somebody is delinquent on their property taxes, do not hold that against them on this, because that might be why they're delinquent, because they couldn't pay them because they weren't open to do their jobs and sell their services. So in that respect, they said leave that in there so that these people, if they needed it to pay their taxes, so be it if they're delinquent. You know, so it's still trying to put operational funding back into these businesses is the goal, and taxes are an operational form of their business. So So again, we have the finite amount, we have 256, 250, and the plan is starting tomorrow, we'll get the grant out on the website, social media. Eric and Tom will put it on the chamber sites, get it out to Edgerton, down to Mary as well, we'll get it in all the newspapers, and we'll take the applications for 2 weeks, starting tomorrow. And I've got that on the board action. So from January 27th to February 15th, which is Monday the 15th, we'll take grant applications till 4:30 p.m. They can be emailed, dropped off in person, mailed, as long as they get them to us. Okay? And commissioners, you're welcome to spread the word as well to any of your contacts out there as well. So what happens after that is then the committee gets together through the weeks of February 15th to the 22nd. We need to really sit down, I believe, and look at all the grants together to see what we've got as a total amount we're going to spend, and then figure out what we're going to do with it from there. Where the last time, we were able to just say we had plenty of federal money that everyone got $5,000. But I think we're focusing on needs, so we're looking on the grant application, what were your expenses, what is your income, how big a hole are you in, and what can we use to help this? So we're looking at different, instead of just blanket, and Matt Hilgert suggested don't do it as a blanket one, really focus on the needs of these businesses and try to help them as best you can. So that's what we're going to do. So we've got a pretty narrow timeline, so the grant agreements are prepared. We're going to use the same grant agreement, tweaking the wording a little bit that we used for the CARES Act grant, so we're not going to reinvent that. That grant agreement was just fine. So we'll tweak that to make sure that'll work. The grantees will sign the grant agreement. Auditor Treasurer's Office will get the funds out. All the funds have to be encumbered by March 15th. It doesn't mean it has to be out the door, but if we can get them out the door, even better. But we do have to have all the money out the door by March 31st.
Yes, and I will just add to that as soon as they get all approved, we'll actually pay them as an auditor warrant, so we'll get them out as fast as we possibly can. So it's just a lot better. We did the exact same thing with the CARES Act funds. Essentially, if they're approved on that Tuesday, they're paid out that Friday. So if we get them approved, we'll get them out as soon as we can. So
Sounds good.
And I see a misspelling on my form here I have to do. Under the one that says rental business, says primarily drive instead of derive, so I just noticed that. So, board members, any questions on the application or what we're doing here?
So it sounds like each business was a lot more needing to explain their need versus just we're all struggling.
Right.
With the limited amount of money we've got, we're not gonna be able to help a lot.
Right.
I mean, we've had a couple have come forward. The whole amount won't even help one.
Right.
And in regards to that, Les, we have to really make sure that when the message goes out there, that people are very realistic about their expectations, because you have very, very limited resources there.
And I will add to that under the acknowledgement form, or last page of the application, or the acknowledgements and signatures, the second to last one is they understand by their submitting this application that it's not guaranteeing them money, essentially, because we're under no obligation to approve or extending assistance grant funds. So even though you apply, it doesn't necessarily mean you're getting it this time around, whereas last time it was essentially, if you apply, you get it. So
Right.
just making sure people are aware of that $250,000 does not go very far when you're talking about all the businesses that we have in Pipestone County, so.
Because approximately how many businesses did we help the first go around?
About 112 for-profits, and then I believe it was around 70 to 80 nonprofits. I don't have the numbers
So
off.
close to 200.
Correct.
Obviously, if you
We're
did
not-
that with this amount, it'd be very little per person.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. And a lot of those people that we approved for those would not even be eligible for this. I mean, we did have a lot of gig worker applications last time, but if you go 20 businesses, you're only looking at $10,000, $15,000 a business, and that they've been affected a lot more than that. And I'm guessing we'll see once we get the applications in, exactly where everybody's sitting. So it's just making sure people are aware that we're a very limited amount of funds that we can give out this time.
The real focus, again, was who was really hurt by the Executive Order 20-99 was restaurants, bars, and those type of small businesses that were forced to 100% close. And that was as part of the Senate File 31. They really were focusing on those who got really hammered in
But
November.
of course, they did get a direct payment from Department of Revenue recently, didn't they?
Some did, some did not. Depends on depends on their type of business too.
I mean, for like the restaurants and bars, didn't they all get a direct payment based on their type of business?
Based on the type of business,
Yeah.
it depends. It depends on how many people you employed, whether you had good standing, what your filing status was. So a lot did. We can't guarantee if they did or not, though.
Okay.
Right.
Yep, so.
But are you able to find that out when deciding this, or?
There is a request form that we can submit to the state. Essentially, we'd have to get their tax information. We can submit to the state, and the state will tell us exactly how much they received. That information is not public. Part of this file was that the state did not agree to essentially sending all the counties what each business got. We have to request it on an individual basis.
Okay.
So there is an extra step that will delay the process, obviously, when you're waiting for a response back from the state. But that's how they just set it up.
Right.
And Mr. Chairman and board members, on that last page on the acknowledgements, the second one from the bottom, it says, I agree if required to submit a Minnesota Department of Revenue Form REV 185B authorization to release business tax information to certify prior assistance amounts and will be liable to pay back funds if I found to have been misrepresented your data and not spent money according to eligible uses. So that is our only method we have to see about the other income they received is that form. And the business would have to fill out that form and send it into the state, and then that allows us to see it.
And due to the tight timeline, you may not even hear back in time.
Correct.
Yeah.
Now, the positive side, we have the money in the bank.
Yes, we do have it, so we
Money is
received
here.
the money. Yep, we did receive the money, so we're strictly just waiting on getting all these approved, and getting it paid out. So we're good to go on that aspect of it. I will say I do like the fact that we're not really changing the grant agreements that we're making, because it does put all the onus on the owner if they were to get audited, that they would have to provide information, all of the actual detailed financial information at that time.
Right.
So that kind of takes the pressure off the county to go and get financial statements from every single person. So,
Yeah, we don't want to be in that business.
correct. Yep.
The statement of need page might come back to bite you, you know.
In that situation, exactly.
Yep.
You guys are, you four guys are gonna have to read all them and decide who gets what. That's gonna be a
Exactly.
hard job.
It is, and that's why we put in there that, like you said, that statement of need page, just tell us the story, because this is something that we can share with our legislators too, of what's going on and how this really is affecting our small businesses out here in rural Minnesota. You know, we'll certainly, if they come back and want to know about how this went and what was going on, and like, we had a need of $750,000 or $1 million, and we got $250,000. I mean, you know, and I'm sure they're going to hear that all around the state too. This is a very small amount we're going to be getting.
Right.
But we'll do the best we can with what we've got.
Are you gonna percentagize that, or are you gonna do individual?
Individual, isn't it?
We'll look at it individually. I don't, my own mind, I don't want to get to the point where we're giving each business the same amount of money, because their needs are different, but we'll look at everything. I think we should really look at that closely and try to base it on need. I know there's a couple businesses out there that they're big enough or small enough and hurting bit enough where they could take all of our money.
And there's some that are small enough that 5,000 can make a lot of difference.
Absolutely,
Right.
yep.
And with the needs discussion, specifically focusing on how they've been affected by COVID experience.
Must be in business by March 1. Does that mean Calumet is out of that loop?
As of now, yes. And I mean, there's a lot of different variations. I don't know exactly where they're saying they did not qualify for the
First one.
first one because of licensing with the state. And I don't know if
They're cut out of this one too.
yep, if they're not in good standing with the state, they will not be qualified for it. Yep.
But we wouldn't hold the money back on just non-payment of taxes,
Correct.
of property taxes in the county.
Yep.
If that was the only issue they had.
I don't know the whole story, but just, I know they have some issues in licensing now, right?
The last time I checked, they did.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you would like a motion to just approve this grant program as presented?
Yes, I would.
Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion.
Moved by Chris,
Second.
second by Les. Any further discussion? Not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The work begins. Thank you.
Thanks,
Good luck,
guys.
man.
Thank you, Tyler.
Good luck, man.
Personnel, Kathy.
Morning.
Good morning.
The first thing I'm going to present to the board this morning is the FFCRA extension policy, and this is the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, which was passed by the legislature in March of 2020, and it expired December 31st of 2020. And Steve and I talked about this and wanted to bring it to the board for consideration to extend the paid leave for employees to March 31st of 2021. It did not get extended federally. There are some counties that have extended it on their own. We really just talked about it and thought there's still the chance that people could get COVID and still be subject to quarantine, either for themselves or family member. It's limited to 80 hours of pay at their full rate of pay for a COVID diagnosis or, again, quarantining due to a family member or close contact. And then there's also the Emergency Family Medical Leave Act for those who need to take time off due to the closure of a child care provider or school during a public health emergency. If the board decides to extend this to March 31st, I would request that we would make it retroactive to January 1st, so there is continuation from December 31st through March 31st. We actually had no requests the first half of January, so, and actually I don't expect a lot of requests or payment through this policy. Our numbers have been really good, but we'd like to really just see this stay in place to get us through kind of the flu season, get more people vaccinated, stuff like that. So this would be available to any employee who has not used their leave yet. So if they did already get the 80 hours of leave in 2020, they would not be eligible for it again. They would have to use their paid sick or vacation leave that they've accrued.
Just curious, did we have many that needed to use it in 2020?
We did, and I was going to run the report. Of course I didn't, but I can send you that information. I think we had probably about a dozen employees use it, so.
Still isn't a big number compared to
Right.
some places.
It's just good public relations to do this on an incident basis, like you say, from March to March is going to be not necessarily. My wife has had some issues with the school, and they have been very good about it also, giving time off for COVID, so. And it's really appreciated by the people. That.
Yeah, and we're certainly not out of the woods yet.
Well, we can see the end, but I don't know if it's.
Mr. Chair, I know of a few other counties that have been doing this, and one of the joint JPAs I'm on as well extended the same program too. It's become quite commonplace. I'll go ahead and make the motion that we extend.
Okay.
Next extension.
I'll second Luke's motion, or Chris's motion.
Okay. Any further discussion or questions?
Retroactive.
I do have a question, Kathy. I realize it's very difficult to be able to estimate the financial impact to us. That right now we don't have anybody that would be pending for it, but if it would have some financial obligation, we'd be able to withstand it, absorb that financial hit, would we not?
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
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 I don't see it being a significant impact.
No.
Okay.
Just
Very
based
good.
on the
Thank you.
past 9 to 10 months that we've been in it and how much it's gotten used, I don't see another 3 months impacting us.
And this is gonna be specifically for COVID, this isn't setting a precedent for years down the road?
That's correct. So it would be called out just the same as what's currently in the policy, and it's those 6 bullets on the first page. An employee is subject to a quarantine regarding COVID, or a healthcare provider has advised them of that. An employee is experiencing symptoms of COVID and they have a pending test. They're caring for an individual that is subject to a quarantine. They're caring for a minor child. If their school or place of care has closed due to COVID-19, or other similar conditions as specified by the Secretary of Health and Human Services. So,
Okay, thank you, Kathy.
yep,
I'm guessing the bigger issue is being in a given department, if you have multiple people out, you might run out of employees before you.
right.
Yeah, I have to believe we're over the hump, I hope, right now.
I sure hope so,
The
yeah.
vaccine is getting available, and hopefully we're moving in the right direction. And the federal government could, and Kathy and I talked about this too, under the Biden administration, they could come back and say, we're going to extend this program through June 30th. And we would be doing the same thing again. So just on our own, we did it through March, and not to say the federal government can't come in and, as he put forth their $1.9 trillion, coronavirus plan, that could still be in there as well. So it could be extended beyond March 31st by the federal government too, or retroactive to January 1st and go back. So, but in the short term, it just made sense for the county to take care of its employees this way and extend at least through March 31st. And if something happens and things go really bad again, we can come back again too and extend it again for another 30, 60, 90 days too.
Sure.
Hopefully we don't have to. But
Right.
Clarification, does the motion include retroactive?
Yes, as Kathy presented, yes.
Thank you.
Okay. That's okay with you, Dan?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And we call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much. I have one more announcement. Doug Nagel has submitted his resignation letter. He is officially retiring at the end of January. So January 31st, 2021, after about 28 and a half years of employment. So we thank him for his service. If you remember, Doug went on a phased retirement program as of August of last year to help train in Cullen Clipper. So Cullen is doing well. He's been trained, and Doug will be retiring at the end of this month. So we thank him for his service and congratulate him.
Yeah, certainly pass on our best to him. He's been a good employee.
Yep.
I suppose you need to action on that?
I do, yes. I need official recognition and acceptance of his resignation.
I'd move for approval on that. Do we have a
Second.
Second by Les. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I do have a request to go along with that. Since Doug is leaving the end of the month, and we have been notified that another employee is likely going to be retiring in March or April, one of the highway maintenance workers. I don't have his official resignation date yet, but Nick and Cullen did request that I ask the board if you would be okay with us advertising for a highway maintenance worker now. Since Doug is leaving, we have another individual that's going to be leaving soon, and it does take some time to get somebody on board. So,
You don't want to be shorthanded if it snows.
right. So just wondering if the board would be willing to, I know we don't technically have a full-time opening at this moment. But the person that is retiring is already getting his Medicare paperwork in order and stuff like that, so I don't think it will be delayed. And it would be great if we could get a little bit of a jump start on this.
Okay. You need a motion or?
I think that, Kathy, do you need specific action on this or just permission?
Either permission or action, I guess. Consensus is fine.
I'll move that we authorize advertising for replacements.
Okay, moved by Dan,
Second.
second by Chris. Any discussion? Not all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Steve, fourth quarter budget report.
Mr. Chairman and board members, you have in front of you a spreadsheet that put together each quarter for you to look at. I did email, excuse me, I did email out a copy of the breakdown for the last quarter. I didn't print it out to everybody. Chairman Johnson got one. If you want a hard copy, I'll be glad to get one to you, but trying to save a couple of trees if I can. So, but as you look through the fourth quarter, by and large, overall, our responses were our departments taking care of the budgets was very good. Some were a little higher than others. Elections went over, and some of that will be, hopefully we can come back with some grant money on that. Anything over 100%, 5% over on an IT, that was a good year for us. We didn't have any major breakdowns of equipment that weren't budgeted for, so that was a good thing. Everything else, planning and zoning, sheriff general, that one picks up a lot of stuff in there, a lot of different activities. 15% over, generally for overtime and some equipment purchases where that came from. And E911, that was high this year because we put in, again, I mentioned that last quarters too, we purchased the county-wide paging system for the county, so that's why that boosted that up high. So any extra that came out of our reserves, and also we did spend all of the money that we get in from the state for our 25 cents line, our line charges for cell phones. So beyond that, county ambulance, I got a hold of Casey on this. I noticed that this is the first time in years that we met our actual income estimate. Over $512,000 was collected in 2020 from ambulance, and it's taken about 3 years since we started working with the ambulance billing company and finally got things working, and it's humming right along now, and they've got a good person working with our services here that knows rural ambulances and how to bill and how it works, because we do a lot of transfers. So I called her and said, this is phenomenal to see that, so it's a good thing. And there will be a large expenditure. Of course, it's on the agenda today for 2021 for their new ambulance, but of course that was all budgeted for. So I don't get any, for conservation, all of that money primarily comes from grants in, grants out, so it's just the way it sits. That'll change, so I don't get concerned about that at all. So overall, general revenue is down 194% over our estimates. Obviously, there's still some tax dollars that come in for delinquents, but overall, the budget worked very well. Take a look at road and bridge as well on there. Same thing with number 13, the 340 construction. A lot of that is state money, federal money coming in and out, so I don't get concerned about that dollar amount at all. And when you go into the second quarter and we're under budget by 985 and we're 739 above at the end of the year, there's still money we're waiting on. So for those projects that Nick and the team out there work with. Our general obligation bond, we've got 2 more years payment on that, 21 and 22s, and then that'll be paid off. Outside the budget, the recorder's reserve account, we didn't spend a lot of money this year, and we did get money back from the feds on the CARES Act money, so that helped our budget immensely too. So all in all, I'd say that the year was a very decent year on our budgets. You know, we had a lot of our employees did have COVID. We did use some of our leave and things like that, but fortunately everybody's back and healthy, and we're moving forward and hoping on a very positive 2021.
Yep.
Any questions?
Nope, I guess the number that caught my attention was the net for total county revenue fund was nearly 700,000 to the positive, and that is about as good as it gets.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So, you- department heads did a great job on this, and commend them and the board and for working together on the budgets and the levies and keeping the expenses in check the best we can, but it costs a lot of money to run a county. So, and our financial report that Tyler gave us a couple weeks ago, we're looking very well. Our reserves are good. Had a good report on that from Ide Bailey as well.
Yeah. Any other questions on that? Now we can move on to the declare ambulance 381 surplus property.
Okay, I just told Casey I'd take care of this for her. I have in front of you a request for board action. She's requesting that ambulance 381, noted as a 2001 E450 Type 3 van type front ambulance, is scheduled to be replaced on February 2nd with a 2020 Ford F450 Type 1 four-wheel drive ambulance. We are requesting that it be declared surplus property so that it may be sold. I recommend that we take bids and list it on the county website from January 27th through February 10th, 2021, with a minimum of $5,000. So I'd request board action to approve that.
Move to approve.
Okay, moved by Les,
Second, Dan.
second by Dan. Any further discussion?
Just a question, we had success with the MnDOT, not MnDOT, but the surplus that sold the skid loader on.
Amend bid.
Have you considered that?
We will. I talked to Casey about that, and she decided that really she'd like to try locally first and do it through the county, and if we don't have success with this, again, we're gonna put a $5,000 minimum bid on it, because it still could make somebody a decent ambulance with a little bit of refurbishing, and if this doesn't go through, we can always relist it on min bid and see what we get from there. But we wanted to try this approach first.
Okay,
The unit itself, what type of equipment are we going to get rid of with the equipment that's not going to be able to be used with the new one?
The only thing that will be left in it will be, of course, all the emergency equipment. There'll be no radios, no cot. The cot mount will be left in there, but the cot, old cot, they're gonna keep that for a training cot at the ambulance service. So what they're getting is the truck as an ambulance. Again, there's no radio equipment. It's already been pulled out, no medical equipment, anything like that. So it's a bare bones truck. We'll have all the maintenance records for it too that we've kept back to 2001, so they can have all that too of what's been done to it. So whoever decides to buy that. So it would be ready to go if someone wanted to use it for an ambulance or turn it into whatever, plumbing truck.
because you'd get the lights and all that.
Yeah, that
whatever.
all goes with it, but obviously state statute requires that if it goes as an ambulance and its use is not as an emergency vehicle, all things required to come off, anything red, anything flashing, all that. They can put all the ambers on they want, but they can have no reds. And it has to be all logos and paint, and anything that identifies it as to where it came from needs to come off too.
Okay.
Does that help, Dan?
Yes, thank
Okay,
you for clarification.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we do have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And authorized payment by auditor's warrant for the new ambulance.
As I mentioned on the last information, Mr. Chair and board members, that the new ambulance will be here on the 2nd of February, which is next Tuesday. I would request that Casey get the information to me so I could bring this to the board and have you approve it as an auditor's warrant. The check amount that will be for an auditor's warrant would be made out to 94 Services, Monticello, Minnesota. Total amount, $236,465 even. Of that, the Pipestone Ambulance Association will be reimbursing the county $40,535. So the county will write the check to 94 Services for the total amount. The Ambulance Association will reimburse $40,535 for the cot and the cot mount. And that's what they've been raising chili feed money for a number of years on, so.
They don't give those away, do they?
Nope, but it lasts for a long time, and it saves a lot of back injuries.
Mr. Chair, I move for approval.
Okay, moved by Chris,
Thank you.
Support.
second by Dallas. Any discussion? Not all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Motion carries. Coming meetings, county board on the 9th and the 23rd. Of course, we'll have our hospital meeting this afternoon at 1. Anything else to be brought up today?
I have nothing else, Mr. Chairman.
I would move for adjournment.
Okay, let's move to adjourn.
Second.
Second by Chris. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
151.
Got one, Dan?
See you at 1.
Thank you, Ben. You bet.
Thank you.
Take care.